Hello, 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 everyone, and welcome to another episode of Producer's Corner. My name is Simone Baldwin, and I am the producer, creator, and writer of this project called 5 Seasons of Love. We just completed episode 4 yesterday. We are almost finished with this first season. I can't believe that we're almost done, but we are. And yesterday's was winter episode talking about distractions and talking about forgiveness. It was very impactful. A lot of notes taken, a lot of good takeaways from that episode. So we are going to have a very special guest in the room today. She is my mother. Her name is Beverly Baldwin. She is a cast member on this project, and her and my dad were cast members. You'll get to see them on the next episode on due season next weekend. She'll be on a little bit later, but I wanted to first talk about the scripture that was selected for the winter season, and that was Hebrews 12:2, the Amplified Version. And it says, looking away from all that will distract us and focusing our eyes on Jesus, who is the author and perfecter of faith, the first incentive for our belief, and the one who brings our faith to maturity. So with this season of winter, after the couples last week spoke about the awareness of what marriage was and the aha moment of saying, ooh, this is what this marriage is really about, then they embark and they get into their winter season, which talks about possible distractions or possible obstacles that try to disintegrate their union. So my mom is going to come on in a few minutes to just share her takeaways and share her knowledge and her wisdom. My mom and father, they have been married for 51 years. They are vets in the game. They are the prototype to this project. So she's going to come on, and we're going to have a wonderful discussion. I hope that you are going to enjoy it. Please chime in to the comment. Hey, Kat. Thanks for joining, Kat. Chime in with your comments. I appreciate the feedback. I love the energy. And if you're catching the replay, thank you for catching the replay. I appreciate you. And just really quickly, over the last month with this project, a huge thank you for those who were watching multiple times, sending your thoughts of love and your comments and your takeaways from the project. It's very appreciated. And thank you again for everyone who's also sharing the project, because that is how the word gets out. So I appreciate you and all the loved ones that have participated with getting this project out. Without further ado, I'm going to bring on my queen, my mother, Beverly Baldwin.
Hi,
hey, Mom.
Moni. Hi, everybody.
How you doing?
I am well. How you doing?
I'm good. So we're going to get into it.
All right.
We're going to get into this winter season. So we had 4 couples. Starting, we'll start with the bells, but I'm going to first start talking about the question that they were presented with. The first question that they were presented with was, what instructions did God give you in how to mature from distractions, internal or external? So oftentimes with relationships, when troubles come, they're coming because there's either an outside force,
that's true,
another person, another something, health, finance, whatever, or an internal personal struggle. So I thought it was important for the couples to share what instructions God gave them in how to mature from the distractions, because I wasn't primarily focused on the ism, the actual thing that was trying to tear them down. That was not the primary goal. My goal was for them to share a little bit of that, but also share the healing coming out of their issue. So we had
Right.
the bells first,
Yes,
Johnny
we did.
and Yolanda.
Johnny and Yolanda. Yes.
Take it
Yes.
away, Mom. What were your
I,
thoughts?
I love Johnny and Yolanda. Johnny, he is so grounded and stands with God that he just stands fast with no matter what obstacles come. He just let it be known, bring it on. I'm standing with God. He's behind me. And he don't even address the obstacle, but he knows how to deal with them because he's
Mm-hmm.
standing with God. Yolanda, she is more of uh, the relaxed social person. And
Mm-hmm.
even though she'll socialize with other people, she knows where her husband, the stance that her husband has, and she never lose sight of her marriage. And she feels that her ring is the unity, so defines unity within their marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And she just holds fast to God's hands and knows that He's there with her, talking to her and guiding her.
Johnny said something at the very beginning. He said that he stands fast on external distractions.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yes.
it was almost like he acknowledges that things comes,
Mm-hmm.
but he was very clear that I'm not going to let that supersede the union.
Correct. Yes.
And I think it's oftentimes that when we are in a union, um, we let those distractions come against us to the point where there is no communication, there is no conversation. It's just distractions. That's all you see. But
Right.
Johnny and Yolanda, they choose to remain in bliss. They made a conscious choice to
Mm-hmm.
say, "Hey, things come, but we're going to take it to the table and have a conversation. We're going to at that moment." They're
Right.
not letting things fester. They're
Mm-hmm.
addressing things at that time.
Head
What did he
on.
say? He said, "We are a reckoning force."
Yes, he said that. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
And he said it like, "Listen here,
Bring it
we
on.
bring it on."
Bring
He's
it
lived
on.
a life to know of different things that he's come out of. And he was like,
Right.
"We're a reckoning force."
Right. And they're both aware that things are going to come, but they know who to deal with, who's dealing with it with them in
Yeah.
their marriage. They know
Yeah.
God is with them.
Yeah.
And that gives you a lot of strength.
Mm-hmm. Because
Mhm. Combat anything.
he was clear that they're not doing it by themselves. We're a
That's
reckoning
right.
force. Like, bring
That's
it
right.
on.
Bring it on.
You ain't got nothing that's gonna separate this good thing that I got going on here. Kat
That's
says that
right.
was everything to hear a husband voice it out loud. That's what
Yeah.
Kat says. Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes.
That's good. That was good.
Mhm. Yolanda also mentioned communication is their go-to. What is the plan? Let's address it. Let's get
Mm-hmm.
to it. She's also said uh, that they remain truthful about everything. But I think I'm jumping the gun a little bit in my
Yeah.
questioning.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. That's
I,
the
I,
next
jumped,
segment. We'll get to that.
I jumped the gun. Okay, so
That's
the
okay.
second couple, the Waltons,
Walt.
the
Yes.
Waltons, the Waltons, the Waltons.
Mm-hmm.
Take it away, Mom.
Okay. Paula and Laurence Walton. Yes. Uh, their obstacle came in the form of illness for
Mm-hmm.
Laurence.
Yes.
And Paula knows that at that particular time he couldn't work. He was dealing with the illness, and she had to stand up and become the breadwinner of the family. But she did it so valiantly. Oh my
Mm,
God, she didn't think twice about it. This is what had to be done. She went to the Lord, prayed about it, what she's going to do, what can she do, and she just went on with it. She had to pick up the weight of Laurent and what he did. So she was being a helpmeet. And Laurent, on the other hand, he had no problem relinquishing his his position as the breadwinner of the family to his wife and allow her to be the epitome of what a helpmeet truly is. He had
mm-hmm.
no problem with that. Yes, he's a man. Yes, he was the breadwinner for that particular time and season in their life. He couldn't do it, but he
Hmm.
had help me.
Yeah.
And they both stood on the word of God and went to God about it. And it made them both strong in their own position and his manhood and her as his wife. And then the time came when she had to relinquish it back to LeBron, but God brought them through.
Yeah. What I really liked about the wife in this pairing, when she
Mhm.
said she knew she wasn't the man when it was time for her to be strong,
Right.
but she still allowed her husband to be the husband, even though she
Hmm.
had to just shift her positioning and what she had to do to make things
Correct.
work. So
Yeah.
her instructions was just to be reminded that he
Hmm.
gave her someone to fight with. That's what she said.
Yes.
She said
Yeah.
she was reminded in that
Hmm.
moment that God gave her someone to fight with.
Right.
She said
Hmm.
initially she was waiting on the typical stuff that would come to try to disintegrate a union, like outside children or infidelity or
Right.
anything that typically that you would think it would be. But she
That
was
would
like,
come
when
again.
sickness came, she was like, I got
Hmm.
this. Like, that's
Yeah.
nothing.
Hmm.
That's nothing.
Hmm. Yeah. That's true. She did.
Awesome. Awesome.
That was
Awesome.
awesome. Yes,
She
it
was like, "Is
was.
that all? Is that all you got?"
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She also was very clear. Again, like she said, that she wasn't the man, and that she just adjusted to being a supportive role. That's what she said.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm.
I'm telling you,
Yeah.
when we were filming this project, it was just encouraging seeing these couples um, talk about their relationship in such a healthy way.
Right.
It was
Hmm.
it was amazing.
Right. The
All right.
lows and the highs. Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So Kat also chimed in and she said,
Hi, Cat.
she did say, "Hey, Ma," she said, "they understand that marriage is a team."
Hmm.
She said, yes.
Yeah. Yes.
So
Yes.
then our third couple was the Joneses,
Hmm.
Crystal and Torres Jones. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. So Crystal and Torres, I love them dearly, and in their going through whatever their situation was, they they grabbed hold to their pastor's counseling, and
Mm-hmm.
they also had uh, family members in their circle of support.
Mm-hmm.
So knew they weren't in there alone. In the natural, spiritually, they prayed, but when you're going through something, sometimes your mind is not always clear. And
Yeah.
God gives you someone here in the earth realm that's going to help you. And just be open to accept that help.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that they drew on that, and they were eventually came out on the other side. And I loved when Crystal say how she really didn't know what to do, but she knew to pray. She would pray for Torres while he was asleep.
She said, "Pray the hell out of him."
Pray the hell out of him while he was asleep.
She
He
anointed
didn't.
him.
He said he didn't. You did that. I didn't know. He
Yeah.
was he was out. He was out. But I mean, she prayed for her husband and anointed him with oil.
Yes.
And we know them now, but you see people and you don't know what they going through, what they have been through
You
to
don't know their
bring
story.
to the point. You don't know their story, but to see them now and it just exudes through them, they got it together. They got
And
it together.
another one of my takeaways, even from that instruction that
Hmm.
Crystal received, even in
Hmm.
her weak moment of not knowing what the outcome was going to be,
Hmm.
she knew enough to just pray.
Yeah.
She knew enough to just pray and lay her hands on her husband.
Yes.
Even in her moment of insecurity of what the future was going to be for them,
Hmm.
she
Hmm.
was still obedient enough to just follow the instructions and pray.
Yes. Right. Yes. That's right. That's right.
Then we have the Washingtons, Barry and
Mhm.
Rena.
Yes. Darren Rena.
Shots
My
fired
Darren
that
Rena.
episode. I mean, they was dropping nuggets.
They were, and for this one, Barry started off with instructions. You
Mm-hmm.
have to be open and listening to and follow instructions, God's instructions, your pastor's instruction. He mentioned covenant,
Mm-hmm.
and he mentioned that things come to you have to come to grips with your own issues.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times, sometimes you may be blaming the other person or the other obstacle, whether it's internal or external, but you got to come to grips with yourself
Mm-hmm.
and work on yourself. And don't Rena says don't allow distractions to even come in.
Mm-hmm.
And that after time, when you come out on the other side, you have to you should recommit with your spouse,
Mm-hmm.
and you have to cut off certain people, whether it's family members or friends that could be an obstruction or an obstacle. And
Mm-hmm.
you have to be aware of these things that could come, that the enemy can bring, because he can bring anything at any time against you. But you have to be alert and vigilant.
Rena said something that was very, 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 very piercing to me
Hmm.
that I just latched on. She
What
says
is
the
it?
enemy comes in causing confusion to something that don't even really need to be
Mm,
focused on.
yeah, she said that.
Because that's
Yeah,
his job to
that's his
kill,
job.
seek, and destroy
Destroy and come from out of left field
out of left field.
for something so stupid.
Yeah.
But still, if you let it fester,
Hmm.
it can destroy.
It can destroy.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's so true. That
Yeah.
is so true. That is so
Um,
true.
right before the break, I believe Barry said that no one can choose the better or for worse. You just have to carry it out.
Right, right.
When you're
And if
taking
I,
those vows, when you say for better or for worse,
what
part of
did
the
what they say?
instructions is for better or for worse,
It's or for worse. That's right.
right? But
Yeah.
again, with all of the couples, the unifying thread in all of that is you got two people doing it. That's the only
Yeah.
way that it's going to work.
Working together.
It can't just be one person wanting it to work. It has to be
No,
two people
has
that
to be
want to
two.
carry it out.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. And I would say, like, for my own personal experience as to instructions that God gave,
Hmm.
uh, way back in the day, uh, and I know you'll remember Dad worked 7 days, and I would be like at my wits' end. Earl, you can't come with us to church, and things for the kids, and you're always working. He had his 9 to 5, but he also did his run his own business on Saturday and Sunday. So they took him away from being able to come worship with us. But in that, I admit I was nagging him. I would nag him. I would nag him. I would plead him, crying, snotting all over the place. You can't come with us to church, until God said, his instructions to me, clear as a bell, shut your mouth. I've got this. He's
Mm,
doing it for you and the kids.
mm,
I'm telling you, when Earl told me that that's why he was doing it, that's why he was working so hard, he's doing it for us, I wasn't hearing that. All I know is I was missing him and the time that we could have spent. So, long story short, I got on my knees and I thank God that he gave me a husband that is willing to sacrifice for us the
mm,
time that he could spend with his family to provide for us. But long story short, I asked God, I said, God, let me see Earl beat me to the church house. So Earl became a usher at our church when we were living in New York, as well as working on the security team at the church. And God fixed it so good. He was given the keys to the church. He had to come into the church all by himself, like at least 5 a.m. in the morning to
mm-hmm,
open up, especially on Sundays, had to be there like 5 to open up. Nobody in the sanctuary but him and God. But he
mm.
was there serving. Hmm.
Come on, Beverly. Was that a prayer answer? Because you what? Followed instructions?
Follow the instructions. Follow the instructions. And the outcome is better. My nagging was just air that was wasted.
Mm,
I see my husband was there. He left me in the bed sleep. He's at church doing because he wanted to.
mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
God fixed it so that, and he's still like that to this day. Here we are in Monk's Corner, and he's still willing to serve. He served the Lord. And I'm telling you, follow God's instruction. Listen, he'll tell you. He'll tell you what to do.
Kat says, Lord, I thank you. That's what Kat said.
Thank you, Jesus.
So the second question, Blanche says, won't he do it? Won't God do it?
Won't he do it? Yes, he will.
So that second question was that I presented to the couples was, how do you choose to remain present, to discern obstacles and distractions? Because once you recognize that the distractions are there, what do you do?
Mm-hmm.
What do you do to remain present?
Yeah. Well,
Johnny was just real clear. And
yes.
This is where I jumped the gun earlier. He said obstacles will come, but he believes in their unity. Right. And he says, but we're a reckoning force.
Yes, he said that. Yes, he did. Yes, he said his strength is his wife.
Mm.
He said his strength is his wife.
Mm-hmm.
And Yolanda, she was with the communication is key. And just bring whatever concerns to the table. Just don't let it fester. Just bring it out there.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's how they're able to deal with it. They have been truthful about everything. She said they've been truthful about everything. So that freed them.
To just live.
To just live. Mm-hmm. To just live. And that's why they're so like, bring it on. Bring it on. I love Yolanda and Johnny. I really do. They are really, really in this thing to last.
Mm-hmm. Yes. When you've been through garbage in your past, when you've been through garbage, when you get something great, they recognized it immediately. Mm-hmm. And when you recognize it immediately, it's like there's no time to waste on foolishness.
Right.
Mm-hmm. And they took heed to that. They saw that was the pressing issue. They prayed for what they wanted, they received for what they wanted, and recognized that it was a great thing. And they said, okay, things are going to come.
Right.
But let's just tackle it head on.
Yes. Yes.
Just tackle it head on. Mm-hmm. So then we have the Waltons.
Yes.
I believe they just through prayer and having a little bit more love and patience and being considerate of each other. That's how they stay present with each other.
Right. Mm-hmm. Be sensitive and concerned. If you see something or either she would, for her, it'll be Laurence. If she sees something a little off, she'll just bring to his attention. Hey, what's going on? What's wrong? Is there anything wrong? Everything all right? But just being sensitive to each other, that's good. That's good. Keep you abreast of really what's going on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Another thing, the Washington. No, we'll go to them last. The Joneses.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I believe they said they bring things up at the moment. They don't let things fester.
Right.
They recognize that sometimes, their tone with each other could be a little rough.
Mm-hmm.
And they had to recognize that easing up in the strength in their tone had to be softened a bit.
Right. Yeah. So that the other can understand, they had to be honest and allow the other to explain exactly, just lay it out. It may have come over a little rough, but well, what did you mean when you said it? The way that you said it, didn't just really come across to me like
Yes.
you may have wanted it to. And then you give the other one a chance to explain, no, baby, I didn't mean for it to come out quite like that. I'm sorry if it did, but what I really meant was, and allow them to explain, and that'll just smooth everything over. But just don't be so, quick to take offense, in
But what
other
was
words.
also beautiful and what Crystal said was, unlike before, what she did in this instance, if she took offense, if she felt sensitive, she would let him know, hey, what you said made me feel like X, Y, and Z, because she
Right.
recognized that she wasn't married to a mind reader, that she had to articulate what was
That
going
was
on
good.
with her, because you can't assume that your spouse is going to get what you're feeling just by looking
Yeah.
at you.
Mm-hmm.
You have
That's
to
good.
always be able to be in a posture of to articulate how you're feeling and how that person made you feel, because
Mm-hmm.
they're not going to know. I
They're
mean,
not. No.
you, mom, you speak to that. You and dad have been together for over 50 years. Even till this day, you still are learning new things about dad, right? You have to articulate and express. There's no assumptions, right? Speak on that.
That's right. Yeah, there's no assumption because yet and still you have to always remember, even though you are one, you're still two separate individuals, and you're not in each other's brain. And you have to know that if, say, like if Earl is doing something or saying something that I'm not understanding what, like exactly, or we're discussing a plan for X, Y, and Z, and I'm really not understanding, but I have to listen to him and ask him questions, why I'm not understanding you, and just explain it to me.
Yeah.
And and I'll be the same way, because for me and Earl, it's more or less me bringing it out of Earl. Earl is a person that don't like to be on blast, just to say it. He likes to we'll discuss and everything between ourselves, but public stuff, he's
Right.
not with.
Right.
But he'll, I have to, bring it out of him. Just come on, just explain it. Well, what did you mean by this? What did you mean by that? And this way, I'll get to understand him better. And vice versa.
Now the Washingtons, oh my goodness,
Mm-hmm.
this was so beautiful. What Rena said. Again, we're still speaking on the second question of how do you choose to remain present to discern obstacles and distractions.
Right.
And Rena said that it's everything to her when she hears Barry praying for her, because at at that point she can really hear
Mm-hmm.
his heart for her and his goals for the family and his intention by him
Mm-hmm.
covering and praying. So
Right.
um hearing him praying for her and for the
Yeah.
family,
Mm-hmm.
it helps them to remain on one accord.
Right, right. And then she'll do the same for him. But for
Mhm.
her, it's just the hearing of her husband and how and exactly specifically what he's praying for his
Yeah,
wife. That thing. Yeah.
that was
Oh
like
yeah.
that was
Hmm.
that was fire. That was beautiful.
Yes. And I would say, be vigilant and ready uh to come against any obstacle.
Mm,
You have to be on the ready, because anyone that you care about or anything that you care about, your awareness is slightly heightened anyway. Whether maybe because for me, because I'm a mother, and maybe not to say men don't have it, but women have that motherly instinct anyway, and
okay.
that protective and whatever like that. But you have to, anyone that you care about, and you care about your marriage, you're going to be vigilant to be aware and to discern when any obstacle is about to jump off. You have to be. And you can either do it one or two ways. You can either immediately start praying about it, you can bring it to that person, or just leave it to God.
Mm,
But in a way, there you do have ways that you can deal with these obstacles and combat them before they get into fester at all.
before they
But you got to
build and
be
grow
vigilant.
into something totally something else that you don't even remember the original
You don't even
original
remember. That's
In
right.
fact,
Don't let it catch you. Don't let
yeah,
it get you.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the third and last question that we asked the couples um, about the
Oh,
forgiveness part.
can I just say one thing?
Sure, and come
Sure.
back from the camera some.
Oh, I'm sorry. um, that thing about who said it? Well, anyway, what you care about your spouse and how to not allow things that could become bad obstacles or things to make each other angry or whatever. You
Yes.
have there's a song by Joe that would say, I want to know what makes you cry so I can always be the one to make you
Okay,
cry.
Mrs. Baldwin.
So I mean that that says it
Yes.
every get to know your spouse so well that you know that if you do X, Y, and Z, this is going to make them unhappy. Do I want to do that? No, you don't. So you won't do that. So I mean, you got to really, just take the time because it's well worth it to get to know your spouse to
Mm-hmm.
that point. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay, Mom, for knowing the song by Joe.
Oh, I love that song. Yeah, it means a lot. True.
So that last question, how do
Mm-hmm.
you forgive yourself and others? So when there were infractions in the union, you know,
Mm-hmm. Right.
what was the forgiveness?
Mm-hmm. So we had the Waltons,
Mm-hmm.
and the Waltons say that they were mature to the point not of knowing that they have been forgiven. So whatever jumped off between them, whether it was small or large, after a while the forgiveness was there, and they actually could sense that they had been forgiven by the actions of their spouse, and that they too had to stop doing things that they know uh, would cause them to have to be forgiven. So that
Yes.
reverts back to my Joe song.
I think they said if you know something is going to upset your spouse, just don't do it. Like coming there with pure intentions.
Correct.
You're human. Things are going to happen. You're going to
Right.
annoy each other at some point, but don't intentionally do something that's going to rile your other person. Just don't do
That's
it.
right. Mm-hmm. Yes.
Avoid doing things that need forgiveness. That's what she
Mm-hmm.
said.
Avoid it. Just avoid it. Yes.
And the
Yes.
way that she said it was just so matter of fact, like duh, like
Mm-hmm.
do
Just
things,
don't do it.
just don't do it. Like
Mm-hmm.
what
Just
we're doing
don't
here.
do it. Don't be so quick to jump the gun, like as our bishop would say, there's things that seemeth right,
Uh-huh.
and if it seemeth right, it's not always right. You
Mm.
got to think about that thing.
Mm-hmm.
What is really right?
Mm.
Not just because it seemeth. You have to see what actually is right. You go to
Right.
your word. If it's something that anything is under the sun is in the word of God, you got to crack open that Bible and see exactly, well, I'm about to do this, or I have this in mind, whatever like that. What does the word say?
Mm-hmm.
What does the word say?
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
And then who else spoke on their instructions? The Joneses, Torres said that he first had to learn how to forgive himself.
Yes.
And then he said then he had to learn how to love himself so that he could love his wife.
Yes.
I thought that was impactful and
that was impactful. Yeah.
long-term
Mhm.
healing.
Yeah, and he puts her first. Now.
Mm-hmm.
And that may have been something that wasn't always there, but then he had to mature to that point,
Mm-hmm.
and that's that's where he's at now,
and then Crystal mentioned, she said forgiveness wasn't instant. She said it took her about 4 years to get over that hump of releasing it. She said she took it to the altar in prayer, but she didn't leave it at the altar. Sometimes she took a little bit back with her to the seat, and that way it stayed with her longer than it needed to have been.
Right.
But then she came to a point where she said, I just don't want it anymore. Just don't want it anymore.
Right. Yeah. And all of that is empowering, and how God raises you up, to be the husband or wife that he wants you to be.
Yeah. Torres, I think he closed it out for them, saying them moving from Florida to South Carolina, and he said cleaving to each other and really separating from family so they can just get to know each other again. Also helps them in that forgiveness journey.
Right.
How was it for you in that? Because when you and Dad were married, y'all were babies. So how was that cleaving?
Well, I guess I always had it in my mind that once I'm married, I'm my husband's. And that, that togetherness is all that I really ever wanted, and that I knew that, and he showed me that that's what he wanted too. So that was even all the more, because starting out so young, we started from ground zero with, not very much, but then we had plans and how to, have more, materialistic things, what we're going to do to get to X, Y, and Z. We wanted home ownership, X, Y, and Z. And, with God's help, we achieved that. We had children. We have 2 beautiful children. And how are we going to be the best parents for that? It took 2. It didn't just take 1. It didn't just take me. It took, or just Earl. It took both of us. And we know that we had to trust God to lead us to what we needed to do. So we're both hardworking people, and so forth and so on. But it was, it was only God. When I look back and
Go on and look back, Mrs. Baldwin. Go on and look back.
God will bring you through, like I say, what you see is what you see, but you just don't know the story, And there were times that we had to cling to each other, in times of sickness even, Dad had his stroke. He was 47 years old, and, here I am. You were away at school, and Earl was in North Dakota. There was me and God and Earl, because Earl was in the hospital and I was home. But I'd never really felt alone, or anything like that. You had to go in through there. Then years down the line, I went through the cancer, and, he was there for me, So, that's cleaving. That's cleaving. And
there's levels to it.
It's levels to it. And like the union that Earl and I have is like, really, you can't even penetrate that. You just bring your best and ain't go. Tell that to Satan all the time, bring it. We so, grounded in knowing that the third person in our marriage that is our champion is God. And, he'll do what he said he's going to do. He's in the marriage, and I'll keep you together. You just follow the instructions. Listen to me. Keep your hand in my hand. And that's what we did. Do we always listen? It hasn't been perfect, but for the most part, we know who to draw on to help us continue to cleave together through thick and thin.
And the Washingtons. How they closed out that episode.
Yes.
With those couple of minutes.
Yeah.
Of deadbolt locking information.
Yeah. Yes.
With the question of forgiveness and how did you forgive? Barry said, forgiveness does not work on your timetable. Just because you say, I'm sorry, doesn't mean the other person is like, okay, I'm good. Let's keep it moving. You don't
Right.
have the temperature gauge on the
Mm-hmm.
other person's response to your saying, I'm sorry,
That
or please
that's
forgive me.
right. That's right. That ice is still there
He says when
until
the ice
it's
is
way.
still there.
Mm-hmm. That ice is still there. Yeah.
It's what it said. The forgiveness doesn't have an expiration date to it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Give the other person time. God work and it works. Forgiveness works on God's time, not on your time.
Yeah.
And you have to give the other chance. You have to be patient until that ice melts with the other person because you don't know really how deep it touched the other person. So
Mm-hmm.
you got to give it time. And if they accept your um if you tell them you're sorry, they might hear it, and
Mm-hmm.
but it just got to take time to like really penetrate, depending on how bad the problem was.
Right.
Sometimes you can just say, okay, no problem, mwah, kiss, we good. But sometimes it's not like that, you know. But I understand exactly what Barry was saying, and that is so rich for people to hear. Forgiveness is there, but you got to give it time for the other person. Mm-hmm.
Blanche says the 3-strand cord in your marriage is unbreakable. God bless my sister and my brother. Love y'all. That's what Blanche says.
I love you, Blanche. That's one of my baby sisters.
um, what did they speak on? Having patience, forgiveness is in God's timing. And Rena
Mm-hmm.
mentioned you have to be open and in an actual headspace to forgiveness.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You have to be
Yeah.
open to it.
Be open to it. Yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes you'd be like a little stubborn. I don't want to forgive. No, keep your sorry. I don't want to forgive. I don't. But draw yourself back. Draw
Mhm.
yourself back. You grab on that foundation. Yes, you do want to accept the forgiveness. Yes, you
Yeah.
do want to accept that I am sorry, and
Hmm.
just accept it.
Hmm.
Eventually it will happen and everything will smooth out all right, but you got to work your way through it.
Yeah.
You do.
It
Hmm.
was a great episode.
It was.
It was a great episode. It
Hmm.
was a great episode because it's like I love the first episode. I love the spring and all
Hmm.
the newness of the couple and when they got together and all of that good stuff. But I
Hmm.
was very excited to get into the fall and the winter,
Yeah, the
uh,
meat.
the meat of it, so that people can hear not
Hmm.
the isms, not the details of what happened, but
Hmm.
again, for my goal was that viewers would witness the healing and
Right.
see how couples navigate in a healthy way
Hmm.
when obstacles try to come and break down what God put together.
Right.
So I believe it was accomplished with these
Hmm.
couples, and I'm excited for next week because we're going to speak on the due season and when the couples have the realization of why God put them
Right.
together. So that's going to be
Hmm.
awesome. And I think you're in that episode. Am I correct?
uh yes, I think I am.
Yes, you and Dad are in that episode. So,
Yeah.
Mom, do you have
Yes.
any notes and thoughts else that you would like to share with the people this wonderful afternoon?
Well, I just want to say that the couples, the Waltons, the Bells, the Washingtons, the Joneses, each one of them had their own experiences that are unique to themselves. But there's people that are going to be watching and gleaning from this that said, what? Washingtons went through that? That's how they deal with it. The Joneses. Did you hear that? The Waltons, the Bells. They said, the Bells said something that's going to help us.
Mm,
They are, whether they know it or not, they have been a blessing to many people that's going to be viewing this. They have
absolutely.
been a blessing.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I would say maybe to the young ones that are watching that may be contemplating maybe getting married or you're just meeting somebody, to keep it in mind. A wise woman once told me that when her daughter was getting married, and it just stuck with me because I passed it on to Simone, girl. I said, make sure, yeah, you tell me you love them. Yeah, you love them. But what you don't like about it, tell me that. And if you can if you can deal with what you don't like about them, that's why you have to really try to get to know them as well as you can. But if it's something, they're going to show you who they are. And if it's something you cannot deal with, cut it off. Cut
Mm-hmm.
it off. Because if you can't deal with it beforehand and you get married, you're going to have to deal with it into the marriage, and it could be amplified.
Right.
So find out what you don't like about them, and then tell me how much you love them.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I remember hearing those thoughts. So
Yeah.
Kat says, watching every couple has blessed and encouraged me. Thank you for sharing,
Mm-hmm.
Kat. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So, Mom, thank
It's
you so much
you're
for
welcome.
joining us today. And
Sure.
I just appreciate you and Dad for being a part of this project because I couldn't have without you being a part of it. You and Dad are the prototype to why this came to be, because you guys have been in this game for over 50 years. So I know
53.
that, right?
Mm-hmm.
53.
53. I
Married
know 50
51, together 53,
together.
right?
Mm-hmm. 1968, July. Boom.
So I'm excited. I'm excited for next week because they'll get to see you and Dad banter back and forth about due season. Mom and Dad will be closing out the episode next week, guys. So please join us next week. So again, Mom, thank you so much for
You're
coming
welcome.
on.
You're welcome. I love you.
I love you too. So everybody, thank you so much for being with us today on Producer's Corner. My name is Simone Baldwin. Please check us next weekend while I close out the series. We're almost done with the series, guys. I can't believe it. 5 weeks, and we'll be starting it back up again with season 2 and other projects. So for the replay, if you're catching the replay, thank you. I'll hit you back with all comments. Hi, Noah. Hi, Noah. Auntie loves you. Um, so thank you again. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for watching and taking your private time to go on our YouTube page at Simone Baldwin Productions to watch the videos. I appreciate you so much. I appreciate the support and the love and the feedback. It means so much. I'm sending you a huge hug, many kisses. So again, my name is Simone Baldwin. Check us back next week for Producers Corner. And have a great week. Stay prosperous and remain intentional.